Critical Role's huge hit video game Dispatch almost never happened. D&D reveals new details about its upcoming Netflix series, and we get our first look at the live-action Legend of Zelda movie.
Let's take a look.
Welcome to Tabletop News Tuesday, your first look at the week's biggest fantasy and TTRPG news. Before we dive into some big Dispatch and D&D stories, why not take a second and hit those like and subscribe buttons? It only takes a second and it really does help us keep these videos coming. And then, let's dive into the news. Critical Role's Dispatch video game, produced alongside Ad Hoc Studios, which was just nominated for Best Debut Indie Game at the 2025 Game Awards, almost didn't happen, as Ad Hoc Studios was apparently days away from going bankrupt before Critical Role partnered up with the company to help fund and publish the now massive hit video game. It took nearly 7 years to bring Dispatch to life, with the project, which involved Laura Bailey from nearly the start, originally created as a live-action TV series, with Bailey still playing the role of Invisigal, according to an interview with Ad Hoc CEO Nick Herman over on the Skill Up YouTube channel. And in fact, the entire Office of Superheroes concept was created to make filming a live-action series as cheap as possible for the company. But in another interview with Bloomberg, Herman revealed that once they decided to switch from creating a live-action TV series to a video game, things took much longer than expected and the situation at the studio got extremely dire, with the company's founders going without paychecks for nearly half a year just to try and make sure their 30-man team working on the Dispatch video game could still be paid. With bankruptcy just days away, Herman was worried he'd have to sign a terrible deal to sell Dispatch that would basically close down Ad Hoc Studios, until Laura Bailey went to Critical Role and the company stepped in at the last minute to fund the final stretch of the game and team up with the studio to publish it. So Ad Hoc went from desperately running around the 2024 Game Awards, trying to find someone and anyone to help bail out their dying studio, to putting out one of the biggest games of 2025, which is now nominated for Debut Indie Game of the Year, and has sold over 1 million copies in just over a week. And while the live-action TV show version may never happen, Critical Role is already at work at an animated adaptation of the now-hit video game as we speak. And all because Laura Bailey believed enough in Invisigal and the Dispatch game to get Critical Role on board to help save the day.
I am a hero.
D&D has revealed some big new details about their upcoming Forgotten Realms series on Netflix, as show creator Sean Levy, perhaps best known for his work as the director and producer of Deadpool and Wolverine, sat down with Collider to talk about the Dungeons & Dragons show. The biggest takeaway, besides the fact that work is still continuing on the product despite months of silence, is that it appears the series will be an original story in the Forgotten Realms, and not just an adaptation of an existing D&D novel or video game like Baldur's Gate 3, with Levy saying, quote, "I think the reason it's taken so long and the reason why it's a challenging process is you're not adapting story IP. You're adapting a world and a lexicon and a spirit, but the story needs to be invented largely from scratch. And it needs to be invented in a way that feels organic to everything that's great about D&D. So that one is in very active, everyday, chipping away at it development at Netflix. So it would appear that a brand new story from the Forgotten Realms is on the way for this Netflix series, assuming the show finally does move from development into actual production at the streaming giant sometime soon.
Patience, my friend.
And finally, the live-action Legend of Zelda movie has given fans their first look at the iconic duo of Link and Zelda in the first official images released by Nintendo. The photos, which show off a close-up of the live-action Link, Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, and the live-action Princess Zelda, Bo Bragason, as well as a shot of the two of them in full costume together in the amazing backdrop of the New Zealand setting they're shooting in, seem to be staying very close to the video game source material, as Zelda is seen wearing a blue costume that looks very similar to what she wore in the Breath of the Wild games, and Link is wearing the classic dark green tunic over a white jerkin with leather bracers that appears to be almost an exact copy of his Twilight Princess outfit. The movie itself remains on track for a May 2027 release, with Nintendo's creative boss Shigeru Miyamoto himself overseeing production, alongside the former head of Marvel Studios, Avi Arad, and if they can keep up this level of authenticity when it comes to the look of Link and Zelda and the majestic New Zealand landscape that they're transforming into Hyrule, we will be one of the first in line with a ticket when the movie finally does hit theaters in a year and a half. And that's all we have this week for Tabletop News Tuesday. Let us know what your favorite story was down in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.